Welcome to Weingut Gindorf and welcome to the virtual tasting of our 2019 Spätburgunder. Now this is one of two Spätburgunders that we have in our selection at the moment, and that raises the question, why two Spätburgunders? The 2019 and the 2017 barrel-aged Spätburgunder Barrique. Well, it has to do with the overall characteristics that we want in the finished wine. And if you look at Spätburgunder production globally, or Pinot Noir as it's better known, you see that Germany is the third largest producer of Pinot Noir in the world, behind France and the US. And if you look to France, if you look to Burgundy, the cradle of Pinot Noir, you see that it has a very specific characteristics. So this is going to be a cool climate, very light, very delicate wine with a focus on secondary notes that come from the fruit. So that's going to be either mushroom or forest floor. Where you find fruit notes, a very light kind of a strawberry, and oftentimes complemented by vanilla, caramel, smoke notes that you would get from barrel aging. If you look towards the US, towards Russian River Valley, Sonoma Coast, or Carneros especially, you find Pinot Noir takes on this characteristic of being a almost overripe kind of a fruit bomb that has very little in common with the European version of Pinot Noir. Now in Germany, in the third largest growing country, German Pinot Noirs, or German Spätburgunder, are known for three things: for being very lean, so a very light kind of a wine with a very light tannic structure, that feeling of drying out that you get with big bold varietals like Cabernet Sauvignon. Being very fresh from the acidity that comes from a cool climate growing region. And thirdly, being very aromatic. We chose to do this 2019 Spätburgunder in stainless steel so that that aroma, all those very subtle tones that we just talked about don't get covered over by the notes from the barrel aging. Again, those kind of vanilla, caramel, toast, smoke kind of notes. It also preserves the freshness. Through the barrel aging, we tend to find a more rounded tannic structure, and aging this in stainless steel before bottling really preserves that freshness that a German Spätburgunder is known for, and that differentiates it from our French Pinot Noir. Now that we've seen that, let's take a look at how glassware affects the way that we enjoy a German Spätburgunder. One of the questions that we often get is about glassware, and a number of the different glass companies have put a significant amount of time, money, and effort into creating the ideal glass form for each individual wine. Now, I can't say that I'm always convinced by that argument. In the tasting room here, we'll use a standard tasting glass that presents every wine from sparkling wine or sect through to the most bold red wine in a pretty neutral way. But one of the wines where I do think the glass companies might be onto something is Spätburgunder, or Pinot Noir. Now, if you think back to what we talked about in the vineyard, the classic Burgundian Pinot Noirs show signs of mushroom, forest floor, vanilla, caramel, really subtle kind of notes. And the glass companies, in order to address that, have come up with these massive globes that aim to create as much surface area as possible for the wine to interact with the air. That unlocks the aromas in the wine. But what they've also done is they've tapered these glasses so they have a very narrow top that is supposed to trap all of those aromas into the glass and prevent them just from evaporating into the air, so that when you nose the wine, that entire bowl is full of the very subtle aromas that we associate with a typical Northern European Pinot Noir. And insofar as the German Spätburgunder is known, among other things, for its aromatics, this may be the way to go. The other thing that this does is it concentrates the wine into a flow that goes through the center of your tongue rather than allowing the wine to spread out easily across your tongue. Since we pick up acid on the sides of our tongues, the more that acid is centered on your tongue, the less you perceive of it. And a lot of people say that they don't really like acid in a wine. It's needed for freshness, but too much is definitely too much. So both by trapping the aromatics and by trying to channel the acidity of a Pinot Noir through the center of your tongue where you perceive it less, that's why you often find Pinot Noir served in these types of glasses. Welcome back to the tasting cellar here at Weingut Gindorf in Leeser, and now it's time to see what we've got in the glass here with our 2019 Spätburgunder or Pinot Noir. So the first thing you notice is the color, that this is a brilliant ruby red color, really a clear wine both in the transparency and in the brilliance of the color. And if we swirl the wine around in the glass a little bit and nose it, right away, the aromatics are coming out. It's one of the three characteristics that we talked about in the German Spätburgunder. And this really hits you with a really bright red cherry, super pronounced strawberry note, and I'm getting a lot of violet off of this as well. So not only the fruit note, but also that really incredible floral note. And if I compare that right away to our 2017, which we barrel aged for over a year in 225-liter barriques. This one has a much darker kind of a nose. The cherry goes over into this kind of black cherry. You get that smoky kind of overtone that you get from oak casks. This is a completely different wine, especially in the aromatics, where this is really bright and fruit forward and almost gleaming. This one is a much more darker kind of a smoky characteristic. And then on the palate, there's that freshness that German Spätburgunder is really known for. That acidity really pops, but then is kind of gone, so it's not unpleasant in any way. It's well integrated acidity, that lean tannin structure. So I'm getting what I want from a light red wine, but without that overpowering dryness in the mouth. The fruit carries through on the palate on this one, so you're really getting all three of those characteristics that you want from a classic German Spätburgunder, the leanness, the freshness, and the aromatics. Yep, all three of those characteristics really coming through in a very typical kind of a way on this 2019 Spätburgunder. And if I just kind of compare and contrast that a little bit with the 2017 barrel-aged Spätburgunder Barrique, here again, that fruit is really showing through. So it's still a German Spätburgunder. There's no getting around that. It's a really fruit-driven kind of a wine, but the sides are rounded. The whole profile is softer and with this dark kind of smoky tone that goes through it. So two really great examples of German Spätburgunder, a German Pinot Noir. This one may be more typically German, this one tending maybe a little bit more towards being a bit more Burgundian in style. Both of them worth a try with game, any kind of venison or wild boar, especially with the barrel-aged one. And with the one that is done in stainless steel, I would say any kind of a fowl, especially turkey, duck, some of the more gamey kind of fowl would go fantastically with the 2019 Spätburgunder. So I hope that's been helpful. I hope that's been inspiring maybe for you to go out and try some German Spätburgunder and see how that compares with some of the examples that you know from Burgundy and from the west coast of the United States. Please feel free to leave any comments or questions for us in the comments section below. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe Weingut H. Gindorf for all the updates that come both from the cellar here as well as from the vineyards outside. And until next time, we're saying thank you very much, and we'll be waiting to see you back here in Leeser,